Hi, everybody. Angie here, and happy Monday to you all. Mondays are a great opportunity that we have each week to kind of set the week off on a good start. So, yoga is something that we can do, especially on Mondays, hopefully more days than Mondays, but it's one of the most important days to practice because then it sort of sets the tone for the rest of the week. And so we're going to have a nice, fairly gentle practice. We're going to be doing a good bit of core work in that practice. So as far as props go, don't really need, I'm not really going to be specifically using a block or specifically using a strap for any of our sequences tonight, but certainly if you like practicing with one or the other or both, then grab those for yourself now. I'm kind of in a construction zone for the second week in a row. My husband is the handyman that is doing, he's doing this room for me, and so it will start looking better, but just bear with me for now. But here soon the walls will be painted and things will look a bit more finished. I'm just thankful to have this space that's separate from my house. So it's a lot more quiet, a lot more peaceful, a lot less interruptions, from animals and children and husbands and whatnot. So thank you guys for coming. Let's get started. Namaste. So we'll just start by sitting in a comfortable position. You're always welcome to lie down if you want to do sort of the beginning grounding piece of this practice and be a little more comfortable there. You could lie down. Otherwise, just sitting up nice and tall. Now, whether you've chosen to sit up or to lie down, see just how well you can place the body into alignment. And so mirroring one side of the body as best you can. Rooting down if you're sitting through the sits bones, feeling your weight evenly distributed both sides. And then allowing that rootedness, that reaching down into the ground to help anchor you so that you can then pull upward from the midline of the body, reaching up and then out through the crown of the head, up toward the sky. So we're balancing earth and sky in this seated pose, Sukhasana, easy sitting pose. Reaching down through the sits bones while at the same time reaching up through the crown of the head. Lift your shoulders up for a second and then just roll them open. Maybe let the palms of the hands rest on the legs with the palms facing upward. Elbows hang heavy. And you can either close your eyes. You could also keep your eyes open, but just slightly. And then looking down, sort of the tip of the nose toward the ground. It's time where we get grounded, we shift gears into a more intentional space. And that's what really separates yoga from just stretching or just exercising. That's what makes it a practice, this mindfulness practice, this significant stress buster. And then just take stock of where the mind is right now. You have to be a disciplined person to practice yoga in the evening after a long day. And so doing what you need to sort of let go of the parts of the day that might still be weighing heavy. But you're clearing that space in the mind for this practice to be present, to listen to the body, to honor what the body needs. And when you're ready, if you wanted, you could make an intention just to sort of seal this grounding exercise as we soon make the transition into the poses, the asanas. Just a few more breaths here. And when you're ready, please start to tuck your chin toward your chest, through the back of the neck. Inhale, roll your head toward your left side. Exhale, center with the chin. Inhale, roll your head right side. The shoulders shrug down, rolled open. Exhale, back to center. Inhale, left. Back to center. And one more time, inhale, right. Back to center. Inhale, lift your head back upright. And we're going to change the crossing of the legs here. So, if you need to, here's where we can use a prop. If you feel like you need a little extra support, sit on the edge of a blanket, sit on the edge of a pillow, and let that height and the hips help to bring release into your lower back. So from here, now that we've come into our non-dominant crossing, I'll feel a little weird. I'm just going to take and reach the right arm across the body, and then just hug that arm in toward your chest, releasing that shoulder down, right shoulder down. Take a big breath in. As the breath flows out, stay where you are. The arms stay where you are. The only thing that's going to turn is your head as you look out over that right shoulder, just to bring movement. A little deeper stretch into the right shoulder. One more breath. And slowly bringing your head back to center. Same thing, other side. We're going to reach that left arm across the body. Use your right arm, forearm, to kind of hug that left arm in toward the chest. Take a big breath in. As the breath flows out, keep that left shoulder relaxed as you turn your head and look out over it toward the left side of the room. Make sure there's no tension, no strain in the neck. And if there is, it means we back off. So even here, right at the beginning, we're listening to the body. If we get a pain signal, then we make sure that we pay attention to that. We don't try to muscle through that, because that's how we injure ourselves. So slowly bringing the head back to center, releasing the arms. Take the right hand out to your right side. Reach the left arm up and send it over as you move toward that right half moon, the seated half moon side stretch. You could look up toward the ceiling, finding that spiral on the left side of the chest, or you might just continue to look straight out in front of you. If you feel tenderness through the neck, then you can always turn the head and look down at the ground, just to relieve any tension there. Slowly making your way back up. Take that left hand to the ground, reach the right arm up and over. And here again, we just relax the left shoulder. Maybe we spiral the right side of the chest up toward the sky and look up. If that feels like you've pushed too far, if there's pain, or if you have difficulty breathing, those are two good indicators that maybe you just need to look straight ahead instead, or the most gentle option, looking downward. Wherever you are, slowly bringing yourself back upright, and then we're going to come onto the hands and the knees. So be really mindful in your transitions. We're not rushing. We're not going to miss out on anything. So just being mindful. Hands and knees. And knees are right underneath the hips. Heels of the hands right underneath the shoulders. We're going to start by just pressing those hips back into child's pose. You can rest your head on the ground. You could rest your head on a block, stacked fists, whatever feels good to you. You might even have the knees spread a little wider than hip width if that feels more comfortable. We're going to be here for 5 full breaths. And don't worry if your hips are up higher, if they're not quite down. Over time, they will move closer and closer toward your heels. Breathing into your back body, 2 more breaths. One more. And then back to the hands and the knees, back into that positioning. Heels of the hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. You're going to take that left knee a little closer in toward the midline and extend the right leg out here. And so rather than doing any pulses, we're just going to see about keeping this leg suspended in air, flexing that right foot. Pinky toe, tip of the pinky toe of that right foot is directing downward toward the ground rather than out, okay, toward your right side. Now you can keep both hands on the ground or see if you can come into that full bird dog, reaching, in this case, that left arm out in front of you, right leg back behind you. Core is really braced here, strengthening through that core, bracing it just like we do when we're in plank. Big breath in. As the breath flows out, lowering that hand, if it was lifted, lowering the knee, and we'll just do the same thing on the other side. Making sure, whenever we're on our hands, that we're not just pressing through the heels of the hands. So if you feel all of your weight essentially in the heels of your hands, then try the little trick where you sort of, it's like you're clawing the ground, but the heels of the hands are still making contact with the ground. And that just reminds us to put some of the weight through the fingers and keeping the core activated, keeping the shoulders activated as well. All right, so here we go, other side. Right knee's gonna just come in a little bit closer to the midline. Left leg is going to reach out, and then we try to bring those hips into alignment. What wants to happen is this, with that left hip stacking on top of the right. So instead, we activate the core, pull the navel in, flex that left foot, and turn the pinky toe, direct the tip of the pinky toe of that left foot downward toward the ground. Maybe lifting the right arm if that's available to you. If it's not, keep the hand on the ground. Maybe you're just kind of testing the waters a little bit. That's fine too. Be wherever the body wants you to be. Take one more breath. Lower the hand if it was lifted. Lower the knee. Curl your toes. Send your hips up into that first downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Pressing back through the hands. Inhale, lift the heels while you keep your abdomen, while you keep your navel in. And then exhale and lower the heels back down. 2 more times. Inhale, lifting. Keep hugging that navel in. Exhale and lower. 1 more time. Lifting up, inhale. Exhale, lower. Walking the feet up toward the top of the mat. So we end up in a forward fold here. Now notice my knees are bent. Now I don't have my knee locked here. See the difference, by the way, with the knee locked and there's that slight bend in the knees? We want to keep that micro bend. If you do any yoga with Jason Crandall online, he talks about this micro bend. So we want to always maintain in any of our standing and seated yoga practice. So 2 more breaths here. Again, releasing through the back body. And this is just sort of training the spine as we prepare for some seated forward folds. Kind of important to do these forward folds standing first to pave the way for the seated. Then hands to the ground, walking the feet back into downward facing dog, lowering the knees, and coming into a sitting position. Let's do right leg in front of the left. So for most of us, that's going to be our dominant crossing. We're going to come into a pulse here. That's a core strengthener. It's also a nice hip opener because we do come into a forward fold, seated forward fold for part of it. I'm going to sort of angle myself to the side. That might make it easier to see, but I believe that you guys that are watching have already done this with me before. So we place the hands on the kneecaps, and we're basically going to imagine that there's a ball in front of us. It could be a big beach ball, it could be a golf ball, or anything in between. And we're going to take an inhale, let the elbows bow out as we sort of snake our way forward to push that ball with the nose out in front of us. And then as we exhale, we reach out, and I've got my index fingers touching. Everything else is in a clasp. And I'm either going to lift my knees, but keep the feet on the ground. And notice I'm not rounding here. I'm sitting up nice and tall. Or I might lift, my feet off the ground too, or I might extend my legs, okay? Inhale forward, exhale, and activating that core, crisscross bow pose, Navasana. Good, 4 more times. Inhale forward, pushing that ball through. Exhale, and 3 more. Inhale forward, pull the navel in, keep the chest lifted, exhale. 2 more. We're taking our time, we're not rushing through. Last one. And then we're going to add on, lower the legs, reach out in front of you, just a lean. We're not necessarily folding, we're just kind of leaning as we inhale. And then as we exhale, we're either, again, lifting the knees or taking the feet off the ground or reaching the legs out, okay? 4 more. Inhale, forward. Exhale, Navasana, boat. 3 more. Inhale, forward. Exhale, boat. 2 more. Forward, inhale. Exhale, pull the navel in, keep the chest lifted. 1 more. Inhale. Exhale, hanging out here for 1, 2, 3. And then slowly coming back upright. And then we're going to come into a seated forward fold, which should feel really nice in your back body, especially your lower back, after doing all of those Navasana pulses. So really taking advantage of this rest here on this side, because we're getting ready to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so change the crossing of your legs. Hands on the kneecaps, same thing. We're going to kind of snake through as we inhale into the fold, and then as we exhale, we're going to pull ourselves up and either lift the knees or the feet as we come into our crisscross boat pose, Navasana. So inhale. As we come forward, pushing that ball with your nose, either just lifting the feet. You don't even have to extend them out. 4 more like that. Inhale. And then exhale. Keep the chest lifted. That's going to keep you from rounding through the back. Inhale. Pull the navel in. Exhale. 1 more like that. Inhale. Exhale. And then we come into that reach as we inhale here. And then exhale. Remember, you might just be lifting the knees. And that's okay. If you have lower back issues, that might be all that's available to you. 4 more. Inhale, reach forward. Keep the sits bones grounded. Exhale, boat. 3 more. Exhale, pull the navel in. Inhale, forward, reaching, keeping the spine long. Exhale, keeping the chest lifted. Last time, inhale, forward. Exhale. And then big breath in. Exhale into the fold with the legs And this opposite crossing, this for most of us, what will be our non-dominant crossing of the left leg in front. So given that, you know, this might feel a little more challenging, this fold, as compared with the other one. Maybe you're not as deep in the edge of this fold as you were the other. So just taking little mental notes, getting to know your body, getting to know yourself, and then slowly walking your hands back in as you come upright. We're going to come back to the hands and the knees. And then from there, coming back into child's pose again, just taking stock. Maybe it's a little easier to relax into this child's pose. Maybe things are warmer, things are a little more open now. 2 more breaths. And then slowly coming back to your hands and knees. We're going to do a little bit with strengthening upper body and strengthening the core at the same time. So we're going to do our half chaturanga push-ups. I just had a complete brain freeze there. So chaturanga push-ups half, because, and look, we're going to have different ways that we can do it. So the most beginner way is basically just going to be on the hands and the knees. And then rather than letting the elbows come out to the sides like we do in a more conventional push-up, we would just hug the elbows in as we kind of bring the chest, the heart, closer down to the ground. Try not to ever allow the shoulders, though, to dip below your elbow line. Okay, so that's the first option. Next option, maybe we're able to walk the knees away, and that's going to make it a little more challenging. And then we would just either do little baby dips, okay? Or if you're going to come into that bigger motion, just again, make sure that the elbows are not going to be higher than your shoulders, okay? We always want there to be some variation there. So here we go. Either the knees are in close or they're walked back. We're going to do 5. Inhale. And as we exhale, lower. Inhale up. Exhale, lower. Inhale up. Keep your core activated. Navel hugged in. Lower. Inhale up. Lower. Inhale up. Last time. Lower. And inhale up. Bring your knees back in. Press your hips back. And come into child's pose, but lift up onto the fingertips here. We're going to walk the hands out toward the right side. So the lower body is still in child's pose while we reach the arms towards our right side. And then notice I'm going to rest my head on my arm. Some of you guys might be able to put your head on the ground here, and that's fine too. Just let your head rest somewhere. And a nice opening stretch to the left side body. And then lifting up onto the fingertips, walking your hands back center, walking on over now to the left side. And there again, surrendering into the fold. Let your head rest on your arm, on the ground. A nice opening stretch to the right side of the body. Every inhalation, you can feel that lengthening to the right side of the body. And then slowly start walking your hands back to center, back to the hands and the knees. We're going to do one more set of 5. So remember, we can keep the knees in kind of closer to the hands if we're still pretty beginning in chaturanga practice, or we can walk the knees out. Now, we also have the option of full chaturanga push-ups, and I'm going to attempt that for those of you guys that are practicing. 5 rounds here. Inhale, exhale, hug the elbows in. Inhale, lift up. 4 more. Lower. Inhale, lift. Keep the navel hugged in. Exhale, lower. Inhale, up. 2 more. Lower. Inhale, back up. 1 more. Lower. Inhale, up. And then this time, pull the hips up. Reach the sits bones, then back toward the back wall behind you. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Squeeze the navel in toward the spine. Nod the head yes. And gently shake the head no. Kind of a low to the ground practice tonight. So lower your knees and we're actually going to come to standing knees. So I might have to kind of arrange a little bit. There we go. So standing knees, come toward the left side of your mat. I know you can't see my head right now, but you'll be able to in just a second. So what we're going to do, we're going to come into our side plank series. So we're going to start with our half side plank. So right hand is on the ground. It's going to be in line with the right knee. Okay. And then that left leg extends out, as you can see, and I'm on the inner edge of my left foot. Now you can keep that left arm down here, especially if you have any sort of shoulder issues whatsoever. Or you could reach that arm up, and you can't see the palm of my hand, but it's open toward you guys. So just like in our side bends, our seated side bends, I could be looking out. If my neck was giving me trouble tonight, I could look down, or I could look up beyond the fingers, this lifted left hand. So we're going to do a little pulse here. Inhale, extend that left arm up, and then exhale. And we're going to thread that left arm underneath the right, looking back behind, activating the core the whole time. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, look back behind you. 3 more, nice and slow. Inhale, up. Exhale, back behind you. 2 more. Inhale, up. Exhale, reach. 1 more, up. And then 1 more reach. And then we're going to stay in our half plank unless you are practicing a little deeper. And if you are, then step that left foot in front of the right knee. It's going to be about hip width distance between that heel and the knee. And then you might stay there, or you might step into the left foot so that you can extend that right leg underneath you, outer edge of the right foot on the ground. Stay there, or start hopping that left foot down, either cross it in front of that bottom foot, or we stack inner edge of the feet and come into that full expression. Big breath in. As the breath flows out, we're going to find plank pose and do a little baby vinyasa by lowering the knees. From there, we'll come into our chaturanga, but all the way to the ground. Turn a little bit, and then we'll do a few cobra pulses here. So inhaling, pulsing up, shoulders are shrugged down, elbows hugged in, exhale low. Inhale, reaching out for the heart. Exhale, lower. Sacrum is broad. Inhale, releasing any tightening through the glutes. And then exhale and lower. Let's do 2 more of those. Inhale. So lower. And then 1 more time. Inhale, keeping the neck long. Exhale. And lower. Use your hands to press up to the hands and the knees. Curl your toes. Downward facing dog again. Make sure you're not holding any tension in the neck. The shoulders are broad. We take 1 more breath here. And then release the knees down. Come to standing knees, but now toward the right side of your mat. So left hand comes down. It's going to stay in line with the left knee. Extend that right leg out. What tends to happen here, the hips want to kind of reach back. And so you want to have your left hip right above that left knee rather than reaching back behind it, okay? And then we sort of stack this right hip, kind of lifting up into this hip rather than letting it press back. All right, so arm stays on the side body, or we reach that arm up. And if you're able to reach the arm up, you can do the pulse here. So inhale, reach up, exhale, look back behind you. Inhale, reach up, opening, and then exhale, twisting, threading that arm underneath. Open, inhale, and exhale, reaching back. 2 more, inhale, opening up, and then exhale, reaching back. Last one, inhale, open, and exhale, reaching back. And then some of us are going to stay right here in our half side plank. But if you can go a step further, you'll step that right foot about hip width in front of your left knee. If that feels okay, you can go a step further, step into the right foot, extend that left leg underneath you, outer edge of the left foot on the ground, stay here. Or that right foot crosses in front of the left, or we stack the inner edges of the feet. See what's available to you. You might still be in your half side plank, and that's fine too. Take one more breath. Plank pose. Lower the knees. Lower all the way down to the belly. 5 cobra pulses here. So inhale, pulsing up, and exhale, lower. Inhale, roll the shoulders. Open, exhale, lower. 3 more. Try to keep extending through the toes, reaching back behind you, but keeping the glutes as relaxed as you can. Last one, and lower. Hands at the chest, coming up to the hands and the knees. Pressing the hips back into child's pose again, resting the forehead on the hands or on the ground. Just for a few breaths while I readjust camera. So we're getting ready to do some recline poses. So from child's pose, we're just going to come to the hands and the knees and then take a seat. And then scoot forward so you don't run out of mat behind you. Lower on to the back body. Hug the knees into the chest, rocking side to side here. Breathing deeply. And so we're going to do a reclined eagle pose. And for that, we're going to cross the right leg over the left. You may or may not be able to hook that right foot under your left leg. See what's available to you. And then we reach the arms out in front of us or up towards the ceiling. And since the right leg is on top, the left arm will be on top, and we intertwine the arms. So here, it's just a much more passive way of practicing Garandasana, Supta Garandasana, rather than trying to maintain our balance. So take a big breath in. As the breath flows out, reach the arms out to your side. Slowly start taking the knees towards your left side. And recline, twist. The right shoulder grounded as best you can. One more breath. And then slowly coming back to center, uncrossing the legs. Do the same thing on the other side. So first hug the knees in. Maybe lift the head up toward the knees this time. Nice and compact. And then lowering back down. Left leg crosses over the right. Reach the arms out. And now the right arm crosses over the left. Eagle arms here. Breathing. Look at this nice wrapping of the shoulders, that nice opening stretch to the upper back. And of course, the stretch we get eagle positioning to the legs, so the hips. 2 more breaths. On the next exhalation, extend the arms out by your sides and let your knees fall gently toward your right side. Left shoulder does all it can, just stay in contact with the ground. We might even have our heads turned to the left. Remind that side of the body to be heavy, that left shoulder to be heavy. One more breath. And then slowly bringing the knees back to center, uncrossing. And then we're going to come into happy baby. So taking hold of the outer edges of the feet. You could also grab inner edges, whatever works best for you. We're just trying to bring the knees, the bent knees, to either side of the body, almost like you're trying to bring them down to the ground, but at the same time, you want to keep the sacrum grounded. Breathing. Opening through the groin. Stay still. You could rock just slightly side to side. Just being careful. Take 1 more breath wherever you are. And then bring the soles of the feet together, bound angle. Supta Baddha Konasana, recline, bound angle. And so here, the knees might want to come up toward the arms. If you have tightness through the hips, that's probably what's going to happen. Over time, we just work on pressing those knees away from the arms, like we would do sitting on the ground, trying to press the knees toward the earth. 3 more breaths wherever you are. Again, that sacrum is grounded. Good. Slowly start to release the legs down. Take your heels close to your glutes, and we'll come into just a couple of bridge pulses here. So keep your knees from swaying out to the sides. The knees, the thighs, the ankles, the feet, all of that is about hip width apart, okay? So even as we lift the hips, we want to keep the legs hip width apart from one another. So here we go. Arms down by your sides. It's really important to just look up toward the sky. Don't look to one side or the other when the hips are lifted, because it could hurt your neck. It could injure your neck. So cat tilting, lifting those hips up high. Then you can either clasp the hands underneath you or keep it more passive with the arms just resting by your sides. If you clasp the hands, roll higher onto the shoulders so you can work toward extending the arms over time. Might not want to extend all the way yet. You get that nice lengthening stretch to the quads, the tops of the thighs, pubic bone pressing up toward the sky. Cat tilt. 1 more breath. And then if the hands are clasped, release that. Lift the heels. Slowly lower those hips back down. And bound angle. Soles of the feet together. Let me rest here for 3 breaths before we do that 1 more time. One more breath here. And slowly bring the knees back up. Positioning for one last bridge. Arms down by your sides. lifting the hips up. Keep them lifting. Either clasp your hands, or if you're practicing your wheel, upside down bow, you'd put your hands underneath the shoulders, fingers facing toward the feet, and you'd lift up onto the crown of the head first, and then maybe press up if that was available. When you're ready to come down, crown of the head, back of the head. If that's not available, we clasp the hands, and we just wriggle the shoulders underneath us to try to bring the arms toward extension. Whatever variation works best for you, you might be right here. Take one more breath, and then lift your heels, and slowly lower the hips back down. Rather than hugging the knees in, we're just going to lift the legs up and work toward pressing down to the sacrum. Breathing here. 2 more breaths. And 1 more. And slowly bring the legs down. Take your time coming into a relaxed positioning. Shavasana. So just allowing yourself to settle in. Using a blanket, a pillow, anything you need to make yourself more comfortable. Maybe roll up another mat and put it under the knees here. Whatever you need is just fine. Then we just start scanning the body, looking for any little pockets of tension you might be experiencing, and then just inviting those areas to release, or maybe, adjusting our props that we may or may not be using, right, to help us to relax more deeply. So even in this reclined positioning, we find alignment. One side of the body is as balanced as the other as possible. You feel the weight of the body heavy through the sacrum, heavy through the backs of the shoulders, heavy through the back of the skull. All of those areas making contact with the earth. Letting the ground hold the body so that you can give your muscles a break. And then just staying with the breath. Allow yourself to settle and surrender a little more deeply with every exhalation you take. Inhaling, extending, finding length and space throughout the body. Exhale and surrender. Soften. That same surrender, that same softening that you've been practicing with the body into your mind. So as we inhale, we sort of allow the mind to be open and spacious. And as we exhale, we invite some ease, some peace. Just a few more breaths here. Giving our bodies, giving our minds this opportunity to rest
but also to sort of digest the asanas, the poses, the sequences that we've just completed. So when you're ready, start to deepen the breath, wiggling the fingers, wiggling the toes, bringing movement into your body, and eventually rolling onto the side of the body. Hanging out for a breath or two here. And then when you're ready, pressing yourself back upright. And finding that sitting pose for yourself. Again, seated nice and tall, just like we did at the beginning. Let the palms of the hands come together at the heart center. Maybe tuck the chin a little bit just to bring some length into the back of the neck, some relaxation there. Check in with yourself one last time. How you feel in your body, your rhythm of breath, where you are mentally. Maybe bring that intention that you set back to mind briefly, charging it a bit more. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you have a restful evening, and we'll see you back here next Monday at 6:30 on this Neva Lomason Library page. Namaste. All right. Good night. Sleep well.